Hello, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me in another of my videos. As you can see, I'm back out again in the countryside. So nice to get out into the countryside, into the fresh air. England is such a wonderful place. I mean, okay, there are those places which are less wonderful, of course, and that's usually where man's got involved and not spent time beautifying the place. But on the whole, you know, when you look at the countryside and you see the wonderful small fields, the farms of the old days, it was very beautiful. It was almost part and parcel of the countryside. Nature can be incredibly wild. I was reading a book by Richard Jefferies that was projecting what would happen if London failed, if everybody left. What would happen to the land? And what would happen, of course, is instead of seeing beautiful fields, mown lawns, trees, the undergrowth would just grow. Trees would grow everywhere, and within 20 years or more you would see an incredible forest, a woodland, a tumble. Brambles would come up, all sorts of wonderful plants would come up, but it would be difficult for surviving men and women to navigate. And what we see out here in nature is really man and nature working together. And I always think that man and nature should work together. That we've seen with the corporate world the separation of nature and man. Now, apologies for the wind. If you can hear the wind, that's all part of nature. Where I am at the moment, it's one minute it's sunny, the next minute it's cloudy. We've seen man mucking about with the environment, with the chemtrails and the dark clouds. I was chatting to a lady this morning. We're at a health event and I'm sort of working as an MC, bringing certain people on and off. And I'll tell you more about that in another video. But I was chatting to somebody earlier this morning and I said, wouldn't it be nice, rather than being in a big corporate swanky hotel, which is quite expensive, very nice, very lovely, and all the amenities, you know, superb, but wouldn't it be nice to be in a field like this behind me with a few yurts, cabins or something like that that people stay in, and then have perhaps a hall that is a wooden hall, or a half brick, half wooden, or even a timber framed thing, in which the event took place. And the woman turned to me and said, oh, there's somebody who's never organised a festival. And she immediately went down the side of the negative of, well, it rains in this country all the time and there'll be mud and all of this. And I said, well, what sort of festivals are you talking about? And she was mentioning Glastonbury, in which, I don't know what it is, 20,000, 30,000, is it more? People in tents, in mud and all of that. Well, of course, if you have that number of people in a relatively tight area, and it rains, you're going to have those problems. It made me start to think about how cosseted we are. There's a word for you. We are cosseted, aren't we? We, at home, we spend a lot of time inside these houses which are regulated to something like 23 degrees centigrade. I was watching, I often watch Father John on a Parson's Progress, and he's in a house which is an old shepherd's cottage, and he's renovating it. He lit the fire the other day. There's barely any windows, got plastic over them, and he's sitting in this house which he has yet to renovate. And he lit the fire to test it for the first time. And it was just amazing to watch, you know, the basic elements. And he was saying exactly what I have been talking about many times, is that we have been cosseted, that everything is done for us. We don't go out hunting anymore for our food. Very rarely does anybody go hunting these days. I, as you probably know, have an Essie Ironheart, which is a wood-burning stove. And I go and chop the wood and I light the Essie, and while that's heating up with the farmer's produce that I buy, vegetables and meat, I'm preparing my food. It's not the takeaway dinners from Sainsbury's or Tesco's, other supermarkets of that repute are available. I don't just shove it in. It's not ping food. It's real, genuine food. It takes time. But I like taking back responsibility for my life. I am the captain of my ship, as they say. I'm in charge of my soul, my destiny, as much as I can. I hate all of this cosseting. We've been staying in a hotel with air-conditioned air rooms in the rooms. You can't barely open the windows for fear that, you know, that people will either hang out and smoke or throw themselves out. The water is generated goodness knows where and is running down all these long pipes. It takes ages, and everybody's using the water at the same time. I don't understand how we've got there. We've kind of let this corporate world take us over, and people are just not used to dealing with the elements anymore. Somebody said, no, I was in a place and, you know, it got cold at night, and I was cold, and I just thought, put a jumper on, put a blanket round you, instead of just turning to the air conditioning. And at the event today, someone said in the lecture hall, oh, it's a bit cold in here, can you turn the aircon off? And I thought, well, put a jumper on, put something round you. We've become so unable to cope anymore. And I think that's very sad, because I think even though we may be in the 21st century, we've lost so much of the past of being able to deal with real life. We have this bubble of pretend life, this sort of corporate world where everything is immaculate, everything is done for you, everything is very smart, nothing is dirty, we don't get exposed to any kind of germs and things like that. And that's not really very healthy. So I would love to see us return more, not to savages, not to living in mud huts and having to go and bathe in muddy ponds, but at certain events or in our life, taking back more of that control so that we're not worried about smart meters being put in. We're not worried about, oh, they might turn the electricity off and I wouldn't be able to cook anything, because we actually can provide for ourselves as much as possible. There's a lot of people out there, it seems to me, seem very entitled to everything. We live in a very entitled situation, and people can't cope when something goes wrong. I think we need to man up a bit and try and deal with life a little bit better, so that should another, oh, there's this terrible virus coming along and you're all going to need to line up and take a certain medical intervention, maybe we should be able to use common sense and think, actually, I'm not sure I need that. I have an immune system. I have a healthy body. I expose myself on a daily basis to the elements. I am in a good place, and I don't need your pharmaceuticals and your cosseting all the time. I know a lot of people won't agree with me. They'll say, oh, but I'm vulnerable, I'm infirm, and why not? We have the technology to run everything by computer, we can have everything sorted out by digital technology. And the more that goes on, the more I personally rail against it. Anyway, that's my little thought of the day. I see an aeroplane is coming over, probably my handler, come to pick me up and say, you can't say that, Mr. Terrick. Until next time, thank you for watching. Bye for now.